She said she was too nervous to get married. Then I found her honeymoon booking with my cousin. An hour before the rehearsal, someone had left my car door ajar, and the AC was fighting August with a steady, clinical hiss that made everything feel like a hospital room. Emily sat in the passenger seat, turning the thin strap of her dress in circles like she was winding a clock that could reverse us a few months. "I can't," she said, voice too calm and too crisp for the words. I'm too nervous. I can't get married tomorrow." She didn't cry at first. She just stared at the glove compartment as if the latch might open and hand her a script with different lines. I heard my own breath quicken, like it was stumbling over itself to catch up. The air smelled like the eucalyptus car freshener she liked, and for a moment I hated it for pretending everything was fresh. There's a strange professionalism that kicks in when your life collapses. I found the hazard lights, parked in the shade, and in a voice that didn't feel like mine, I said, "Okay, tell me exactly what you need right now." She seemed surprised that I didn't argue. Maybe I surprised myself. She said she needed time, space, a pause, that her chest felt tight like a fist, and she couldn't imagine people staring at her as she walked down an aisle. I said I'd take care of things. I told her I loved her. I meant it, and I hated how steady I sounded saying it, as if love were a checklist and not the thing vibrating through my bones. The checklists began the second she left my car, careful to put her palm flat on the dashboard like she was saying goodbye to a patient. I called the venue and explained there was an emergency. I called the florist, who said there would be a partial refund if the roses hadn't been cut yet. The DJ kept repeating, "Brother, I'm sorry, man," and then pivoted to fees. My mother texted 4 times in blistering succession. "Is this serious? What happened? Do you need me? This will blow over." My cousin Kyle called and offered to swing by to help field people at the rehearsal dinner. "Get you out of the line of fire," he said. His voice is the kind that always lands on the top of sentences like an older brother laying a hand on your shoulder. I said yes. I said thank you. I don't know if I meant it. When I reached Emily again, she had found her tears. She said she was ashamed, that she didn't want to be a spectacle. "I love you," she kept saying, as if the words were bruised from repeating. "I love you. I just need to breathe." In the background, I could hear a television, the dull vowel sounds of a talk show. Lydia, her best friend, had taken her in for the night. She promised to call later. I said, "Okay." I felt the word leave me like a piece of lint flicked off a jacket you're still wearing. By the time the rehearsal dinner would have started, the private room at the restaurant had become a triage unit of relatives holding plates like shields. People are bad at silence. They filled it with advice and aphorisms. Aunt Marcia, Kyle's mother, tilted her head and said in a whisper, calibrated to be overheard, "You know, anxiety is real, poor thing. But some women just know when a man isn't quite ready for the husband role." She patted my forearm like she was teaching me where to stand. Kyle stood by the door, intercepting arrivals, helping me reroute grandparents. "I'll drive Nana home," he said, keys dangling. "You just breathe." He had the same reassuring smile he's had since Little League, the one coaches loved. People decided, as people do, that Kyle was the hero of the evening. I let them. I made eye contact with my grandmother, Ruth, across the room. She gave me a look that didn't ask questions or offer solutions. It simply said, "Be here, then leave." So I left. Back at my apartment, I turned off the lights and sat on the floor in the gray glow from the kitchen clock. You learn about the weight of your name when you don't hear anyone say it for hours. Everything that was supposed to happen tomorrow stacked itself in my head. The aisle, the playlist, the lemon cake Emily chose because it reminded her of summers in Door County. The toast my father edited for grammar like it was a memo. I opened my laptop and wrote down every call I'd made, every refund code, every person I'd promised to update. It felt like mopping a floor after the ceiling had fallen in. Around midnight, my phone buzzed to life on the coffee table, nudging forward like a curious animal. A banner notification glided across the screen. "Check-in is now open for your flight." For a second, my mind decided it was a phantom limb of the plan we no longer had. Some automated ghost that hadn't been told the wedding died. Then I saw the airline's name, then the departure city, then the date. Tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10:40 a.m. The morning after our wedding night was supposed to be. I didn't touch the phone. I stared until the banner evaporated and the lock screen returned to my own reflection, bent and fishbowled by glass. I clicked nothing. I just reopened our old confirmation email from months ago and compared them. The difference was the timestamp on the check-in window and a little line I hadn't noticed before. Online check-in initiated. The word initiated pulled me forward in my chair. By whom? It could be automatic, I thought. The way some apps pre-fill forms to save you steps. Or someone could have actually started the process, ticking boxes, confirming passport details. My chest built a quiet drumbeat. I told myself to stand up and drink water. I stayed kneeling on the floor in the blue light instead, like I'd paused a prayer. The room made the small sounds rooms make when you've become a new species of alone in them. The refrigerator compressor turning over, the hallway radiator ticking, your own throat, forgetting and remembering how to swallow. I'd spent 12 hours pretending to be a responsible adult so no one else had to catch fire, and now the only audience was a progress bar in my head. I tried to text Emily and typed, erased, typed, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? I love you." I sent nothing. It felt like putting a note in a bottle and then drinking the ocean to chase it. I set the phone face down and stood. The eucalyptus smell still clung to my shirt. I took it off and threw it into the hamper like that might change the day's facts. I walked to the counter to pour water, and the phone buzzed again. An insistent little heartbeat against wood. I told myself not to look. I looked. Another email, same airline, different subject line. The first 3 words like a whisper you only hear because the room went quiet. Check-in complete for my name. And under it, where TBD used to be, a second passenger slot now populated with a single initial and a last name that didn't belong to any stranger at all. The second passenger slot filled in with a name I knew like my own handwriting, Kyle. Just the initial K and his last name, as if the airline itself had chosen to whisper the truth instead of shouting it. For a moment, I thought my eyes betrayed me, that I'd superimposed his name where TBD used to sit, but there it was. Neatest print on a tombstone. My cousin, my best man, my family's favorite son. I sat back hard enough that the chair creaked. My first instinct was glitch, error, some misaligned data merge. Airlines make mistakes, right? But then I saw the travel extras section. One checked box, bold and confident. Romance package add-on. Rose petals, candlelit dinner, sparkling wine on arrival. My stomach folded over itself. I opened my banking app. I scrolled through transactions with hands suddenly too thick for the screen. There it was, 3 weeks back. A charge from a travel agency I didn't recognize. Not from my card, from hers. Same day, Emily had insisted she needed a solo walk and came back smelling like a mall's air-conditioned perfume aisles. My first thought wasn't betrayal. It was the horrifyingly practical one. Maybe she'd rescheduled our honeymoon, swapped names to simplify. Anxiety made people reorder the world into safer shapes. But the romance package wasn't safety. It was intimacy. And the fact that Kyle's name slotted in beside hers like it had been waiting, I felt the day's silence change pitch. I called the agency. My voice cracked into something too polite, too scripted. "Hi, I just need to confirm details of a booking made under Emily, her last name." I expected a stone wall, but the woman on the line, Anna, cheerful and overworked, asked me to hold while her keyboard clattered. "Yes, that's a romantic double occupancy for 2. Honeymoon package. Non-refundable, but fully confirmed." She read the names. My name wasn't one of them. I hung up mid-sentence. My hand trembled as though it didn't belong to me. That night, family chat lit up with posts from Kyle. A photo of him at the airport bar, grinning, whiskey glass held like a trophy. Caption, "Work trip. Wish me luck." Aunt Marcia commented with hearts. My mother with praying hands. Emily didn't say a word. Neither did I. I tried to stitch rationality into it. Maybe he was on a different trip. Maybe Emily had canceled but the system hadn't caught up. Maybe Anna had misread. But then Lydia texted me at 1 a.m. A slip of digital gossip. "Hey, just so you know, Em was really freaking out. But Kyle was helping her deal with the travel stuff. She didn't want to bother you. Don't be mad, okay?" I stared at the words, turning them like keys that refused to open any door. Travel stuff. Helping. Romantic package. I remembered a night at the jeweler's months earlier when I'd gone to resize Emily's ring. Kyle had appeared, by accident, leaning on the glass counter, joking with the clerk about carats and cuts like he owned the air. Emily had laughed too hard at something he said, brushing her hair back with that nervous tuck behind her ear. It had felt harmless then. Cousinly banter. Now the memory soured. A film of oil on water. Grandma Ruth called me the next morning. Her voice was slow, deliberate. The way you speak when you've already decided the listener deserves the truth. "Honey, I don't want to meddle, but Marcia, she's always wanted Kyle to have a wife that fit her picture of things. She calls Emily a natural match. I just want you to be careful." My throat closed around words that didn't exist. By noon, Emily finally answered. She sounded hoarse, like she'd cried all night. "I needed to get away," she said. "Kyle just helped me book something so I wouldn't spiral. It's not what you think." Her voice rushed, brittle. "We're just friends, I swear. He's helping me." Helping. That word again, stretched until it snapped. I asked her straight, "Why does the hotel think you're honeymooners?" She went silent. I heard a door shut on her end, muffling traffic noise. Then she whispered, "Because it was easier to book it that way." Easier. My jaw locked. Kyle called an hour later, his tone rehearsed calm. "Man, you've got to trust me." She was falling apart. I stepped in. "That's all. You know I'd never." His words smeared together. Platitudes dressed as loyalty. I cut him off. Then explained the champagne on arrival. The line crackled, his silence louder than any denial. That night, as I lay on the couch with my phone glowing like an interrogation lamp, Anna emailed me, unprompted, confirming your requested amenities. Attached was a PDF. 1 king bed, private terrace, honeymoon cake with the inscription, "Just us." My name wasn't anywhere on it, only theirs. I didn't sleep. I lined up the pieces on paper, the check-in email, the bank charge, the agency call, Lydia's slip, Ruth's warning, Kyle's silence. Each proof felt like a stone in my chest. But the picture they built was unmistakable. Emily hadn't been too nervous to marry me. She'd been too nervous to be caught leaving with him. And tomorrow, they'd be wheels up, sipping champagne under my honeymoon sun. I started treating it like work because that was the only way my brain knew how to stay upright. I opened a new folder on my laptop and labeled it Receipts. Screenshots went in first. The check-in email, the PDF from Anna with the words honeymoon cake. The chat photo of Kyle at the airport bar. I dragged in my banking app statement showing the travel agency charge. I typed out a timeline, each entry stamped with date and time like I was building a case file. Maybe that's what it was. Evidence that I hadn't lost my mind. The next day, I ran into Lydia at a coffee shop. She spotted me first, waved too brightly, then faltered. "Hey, you okay?" She asked it like someone asking about the weather. Obligation more than care. She stirred her latte so hard, foam sloshed. Em's just, she spirals. Kyle's been a good friend, helping with logistics, flights, refunds, all that. Her words tumbled over each other. Then she slipped, mid-sentence. That's why they met at the agency together to figure it out. Her eyes widened, realizing what she'd confessed. I nodded like it was nothing, but inside every tendon pulled tight. Met together, figured it out. Memories I dismissed started glowing red, Emily clutching her phone close whenever Kyle texted. The time he made a joke at dinner about her secret passport photo face, and she swatted him on the arm, laughing too long. The way Aunt Marcia had slipped into conversations about compatibility, like she was auditioning matches for a family play. That night, I combed through my old receipts drawer. Beneath appliance warranties and pizza coupons, I found the jeweler's slip. Resize 6 to 5.75. Date stamp. The very same day Kyle had shown up out of nowhere, leaning against the counter, watching the clerk measure Emily's finger. I'd thought he was just nosy. Now it felt choreographed. I called Anna again, disguising my voice with a stiffness I didn't recognize. "Can you confirm the passport numbers on file?" I asked. She hesitated, citing policy. But when I offered the last 4 digits of mine, she politely told me it didn't match. The digits she read aloud were his, Kyle's. My chest filled with hot static. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to find a glitch, a clerical error, any plausible out. But every path I walked circled back to the same junction. Emily and Kyle had made plans, romantic plans, with secrecy as their currency. Grandma Ruth called again, soft and steady. "Marcia's been crowing about how Kyle finally found someone serious. She doesn't say names, but, honey, I've been around long enough to read between lines." Her voice cracked just once when she added, "You don't deserve this." By then I wasn't thinking about saving a relationship. I was thinking about survival, about how not to let their version of events replace mine. Gaslight by omission was still gaslight. I tried confronting Emily a second time. She answered, her tone rehearsed. "It's not romantic, it's just cheaper. They market it as a package, that's all. Don't twist it." She sounded angry at me for noticing. I asked if she loved him. She snapped, "Don't be disgusting." Yet the silence that followed was too long, too brittle. Later, Kyle called. "You're making this bigger than it is." She panicked. I stepped in. "Families help each other." He said it like he was reading a family values bumper sticker. I asked, "So why is there a honeymoon cake with just us on it?" He stuttered, tried to laugh, then pivoted. "You're overanalyzing." His favorite word. I saved the call log, added notes to my file. My receipts folder now had a dozen artifacts, proof stacked on proof, each one chipped away at hope, leaving only clarity. The hardest part wasn't anger. It was the way sadness shifted into cold resolve. I realized this wasn't just about Emily or Kyle. It was about a family narrative that would happily paint me the unstable one if I didn't have every stone laid in order. So I built the order. I would not be their unreliable narrator. And then, as if fate wanted to twist the knife, Anna emailed me again. This time a polite follow-up. "We've confirmed your special evening for 2 at the Coastal Terrace. Sunset, Friday." The attached brochure showed a photo of champagne flutes clinking under lantern light. Friday, the day after tomorrow. My wedding day that wasn't. Their honeymoon that was. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark, the word echoing in my head like a tolling bell. Tomorrow. Tomorrow they would be airborne, holding hands over a tray table, rehearsing whatever story they'd tell the family later. And I, left with my file of receipts, was the only one preparing for the truth. I stopped waiting for them to hand me the truth. If they were going to lie, they'd have to lie in the face of facts, not in the comfort of shadows. I called Emily first. My voice was steady, but my pulse hammered like it wanted out. I know about the booking. I know about the honeymoon package. With him, she inhaled sharply, then tried to sound wounded. It's not like that. You're twisting everything. Kyle just booked it that way, because it was easier. I didn't even ask for the extras. Then cancel it, I said flatly. Her silence stretched so long I thought the line had dropped. Finally, she whispered, I can't. It's non-refundable. The way she said it, like money mattered more than the wreckage, split me wider than any shouting would have. Later, Kyle called, his tone brotherly, patronizing. Look, man, you're stressed. I get it. She freaked out. I stepped in. Don't nuke your life over a misunderstanding. I pulled up my laptop, read aloud the timeline I'd built. 3 weeks before the wedding, the package was booked. Her card, your passport number, the agency email confirming honeymooners, the cake with just us. Want me to keep going? He chuckled, thin and defensive. You sound like a detective in your own drama. Chill. She'll come back once she calms down. That word, come back, landed like a slap, as if she were property being returned after a loan. Then Aunt Marcia inserted herself. She called me with faux sympathy, her voice dripping sugar that couldn't mask the venom. Sweetheart, Emily's a delicate soul. Anxiety is cruel. If you keep pressing, you'll only drive her further away. Families forgive, you know. Don't ruin everything with theatrics. Theatrics. That was rich, coming from a woman staging her son as savior. I didn't yell. I didn't defend. I told her, I'll share what I have. Everyone can decide for themselves. Her hiss of breath before she hung up told me I'd finally touched the nerve she'd tried to bury. That evening, Anna sent one more email, almost apologetic. We've finalized your stay details. Oceanfront suite, king bed, terrace dinner. Confirmation attached. It wasn't my stay. It was theirs. My name was nowhere on the file. Only hers. Only his. I printed everything. Spread it across my dining table like a courtroom exhibit. The glow of my desk lamp turned receipts into spot-lit evidence. Airline emails, PDF attachments, screenshots of Kyle's airport selfies, the jeweler's slip, Lydia's accidental confession written in text bubbles. Looking at it all, I felt strangely calm. The sadness had burned out, leaving ash. And from that ash, a harder thing had grown. Resolve. They wanted me to doubt my memory, to question what I'd seen. Instead, I had built a ledger. Tomorrow, the family would gather at Grandma Ruth's for the make-peace brunch. Marcia's idea, of course. She wanted control of the story, to reframe me as paranoid, Emily as fragile, Kyle as noble. But tomorrow I wasn't arriving empty-handed. Tomorrow I'd walk in with the truth stacked under my arm. Every page a nail in the coffin of their lies. And when I showed it, calmly, publicly, irrevocably, no one would be able to look away. The brunch smelled like cinnamon rolls and sabotage. Ruth had laid out her best tablecloth, white with pale blue stitching, a kind of quiet battlefield where everything would be decided. Marcia perched at the head like a queen in exile, fussing with napkins, her eyes flitting to Kyle as if rehearsing cues. Emily sat near the window, hair pulled into a careful bun, face pale but composed. She wouldn't look at me. I carried a plain folder under my arm. Nobody asked about it, but everyone noticed. We started with small talk that tasted like ash. Marcia finally cleared her throat, loud enough to command silence. We're here to remember we're family, she said, smiling the way politicians smile when caught on tape. Sometimes emotions run high, mistakes get made, but love and loyalty carry us through. Her glance at Emily was maternal. Her glance at me was daggered. I stood before she could crown herself judge. My voice was low, but it carried. I agree. Loyalty matters. That's why I want everyone to see the whole picture. I opened the folder and laid out the first printout. The check-in email. This arrived the night Emily called off the wedding, not weeks later. Not by accident. That night, eyes followed the page as I laid down the next. The PDF from Anna, highlighting honeymoon package. Then the bank charge in Emily's name. Then Kyle's airport bar photo. Then the jeweler's slip. My timeline in bold black ink. Emily's hand trembled on her lap. Kyle's jaw clenched, a flicker of anger betraying his mask. Marcia tried to laugh, brittle and sharp. So you've been, what, spying? Hacking into things? Really, this is beneath you. No, I said. I didn't need to hack anything. They handed me the truth themselves. I held up the final sheet. Anna's email, the one with the honeymoon cake and the words, just us. The silence was surgical. Emily cracked first. I didn't, she started, then stopped. Tears welled, her voice shaking. I was scared. I didn't know how to say no to her, To him, Marcia kept telling me I wasn't ready for marriage, that Kyle understood me better. I thought her words collapsed into sobs. Kyle slammed his palm on the table. Enough, this is insane. She needed comfort, I gave it. You're blowing up family over paperwork. Grandma Ruth's voice cut through, quiet but final. Paperwork doesn't lie, Kyle, and neither do bank charges. You've disgraced yourself. And you, Marcia, she fixed her daughter-in-law with steel eyes. You've tried to orchestrate lives like chess pieces. Not anymore. Then she dropped her own hammer. I'll be amending my will. The family fund won't be touching your hands again. Not yours, not your son's. The color drained from Marcia's face. Kyle muttered a curse. Emily buried her face in her palms. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't even angry anymore. I just felt clean, like air after a storm. And then my phone buzzed. One last email. I opened it and turned the screen so everyone could see. A promotional photo the hotel had mistakenly sent. A smiling couple in the lobby holding a placard that read, Honeymooners. It wasn't stock photography. It was them, Emily and Kyle, her hand tucked into his arm, both looking like they'd already rewritten their story. Nobody spoke. The proof didn't just sit on the table, it burned there. And in the silence, I felt something loosen inside me. The part that had clung to denial finally let go. They had written themselves out of my life. I wasn't their fool anymore. After the brunch, I didn't go home. Home was still filled with her shampoo, her jacket on the chair, the ghost of what I'd built around us. Instead, I drove until the highway thinned into coastline and the horizon split open into water and sky. The ocean has a way of swallowing noise. I thought exposure would bring triumph, some sense of winning. But as I leaned on the railing overlooking the surf, all I felt was the ache of clarity. Betrayal doesn't roar. It settles. It seeps. It leaves you emptied out, listening to your own breath like it belongs to someone else. I spent the next week closing loops. Deposits canceled where they could be, refunds filed. Her belongings boxed, labeled, and left at Lydia's doorstep. Each task was a stitch pulled loose, unraveling what I thought was permanent. Emily texted once. Long paragraphs of apologies and explanations. Words like panic, pressure, confusion. I didn't reply. Kyle never reached out at all. Marcia tried once. An email full of blame disguised as wisdom. I archived it unread. Grandma Ruth called every evening just to check if I'd eaten. They wanted to make you doubt your eyes, she said softly. But you saw clearly. Don't forget that her voice steadied me more than any evidence ever had. 2 weeks later, I used the credit from our canceled tickets. Not to run away, but to reclaim. I flew to the same resort they had chosen, alone. At check-in, Anna recognized the last name and froze. I told her gently, different guest, different story. She smiled with something like relief. The suite was meant for two. A king bed with petals scattered across the sheets, champagne chilling in silver. I asked housekeeping to clear it all. Just water and a simple meal, please. That night, I sat on the terrace with tea, listening to waves beat against the rocks. No toasts, no speeches, just salt air and the company of my own endurance. The next evening, an older couple invited me to join them for dinner after seeing me alone. 40 years married, they said, their eyes crinkled with stories. They talked about how marriage wasn't a finish line, but a daily decision. Nerves don't kill love, the husband said. Dishonesty does. I felt the truth of it land inside me, heavier and steadier than grief. On my last day, I opened my laptop and wrote everything down. Every call, every receipt, every silence, every lie. Not to wallow, just to document, to keep the story from being stolen. When I hit post on a forum where strangers tell strangers the ugliest truths, I didn't feel vengeance. I felt release. She said she was too nervous to get married, I wrote. But the real story was waiting in a honeymoon booking with my cousin. And with that, I closed the laptop. The ocean kept moving, indifferent and eternal. And for the first time in weeks, I realized I could move too.